So,
Yeah.
there would be then 6 council people, 3 on it.
Yeah.
Just have people volunteer. And maybe our newest one not participate, but have 3 people. So think about that. That's kind of thinking.
Are these ours?
And you can think which one you would want to be on, RDC or the farm.
Welcome, young lady.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking, who's there? Scott.
Scott.
Unelected members of the group are kind of slow coming.
Yeah, we'll give everybody another minute. And then we'll get started.
Yeah.
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 I will say the
Does
Maybe
anyone
even-
know if Scott's not coming today?
I don't know of anybody that's not.
Scott? Yeah. I know Keely said
Might have it here.
she booked it.
Oh, she.
I
won't
thought
be
I was
here
here
this
for
week
getting the
or
diet
next
coke.
week.
Here we go.
Yes.
Oh, what, the January?
Yeah, so it's Scott's the only one that's missing.
Yeah, and he might have an issue.
Tammy Sedgwick. Nice to meet you.
Usually
We have.
people-
Yep.
I know
Yep.
Robin
Firehouse a few
said,
times. Jay's.
"Keep
Jay's
me away
Sedgwick.
from Kent, brother. You bastard."
She did. She beat me on the arm. It's a,
Please. Save me.
you're not talking
Hey,
Scott.
how are you?
I can't believe
Oh,
you
yeah.
won't be here.
We'll give
Did you?
But I tell you, 9 was backed up a long way trying to get into town. First day of school.
Never get too much family.
And
Got great service Monday.
we ran our routes. I had to go down about 5 o'clock in the morning and stand there and coach all the guys that came in. I still had half my crew didn't come in. And I said, I told the guys, I said, it don't matter if we get started on time. I said, we're just going to hang out here till daylight, figure out what we're going to do. I said, it's not that bad on the city streets.
Okay, guys, we're gonna get started here.
We've got so many,
Yeah. I was trying to give Scott a second, but he may not be coming. I don't know.
Scott is not coming.
I don't know. I tried to give him a minute.
He could have some issues.
We'll go. There's Kayla. Maybe we give another minute or two, just
All right,
due to weather.
we're gonna give our last council person 2 minutes and then we're gonna start.
You what?
I guess it seems as if.
What's it? That's a good point.
Okay, I just wanted to explain it.
Yeah. Good morning, Greg.
Did you go over to your son's house and dig him out? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I bet he had some snow.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's,
Hello. I'm back.
Greg, can you speed it up there a little bit? That was 2 minutes ago. Okay, we're going to get started this morning with 2 hours of a strategic plan session for the RDC. I'm going to turn it over to Rick Roberts. It's your 2 hours.
Good. Good morning. Good to see you again. Happy New Year to all of you as well. We're going to go through this process much like we did the county farm session, where we just did some brainstorming as to what could be. No decisions are coming out of today. Today's just a discussion. Today's just a starting process. Okay. The difference this time is Greg and Gary are gonna make presentations to kind of lay some guardrails on where we are, what about these unallocated RDC funds. Gary has also come up with some ideas. I think he shared, you have packets in front of you, I think he shared them before as to what could be, what ifs. What we want to do is build on those, okay? So that's the whole intent. And much like the county farm, when we didn't come up with decisions, we came up with a list with a recommendation that this may go before a subcommittee. You may choose to have a subcommittee to study it further. This idea was just a chance to kind of step away from your day-to-day, what you're doing at council and the commission, and have a chance to talk with each other about what could be. Okay, so that's what this morning's about. What we will do is break into groups, and we have the 4 tables set up after they have a chance to talk. So let me run through that just so everybody's aware what the rules are. Janine Keeley's not here. Kent, if Scott makes it, Tammy, you'll be at table 1 over here, brainstorm. Gary, if he makes it, Jim, Mary, Robin, I guess Bill's not gonna be here, so we'll be at this table, same table as last time, okay? In the back will be Deborah. And Kayla's been invited, Scott, Rubel, Tom, and Mary will be in table 3 back in this corner. And table 4 will be Gary, if you want to set the table, please. Randy Sorrell, Miriam, and David Hawkins will be back at this table, okay? With that, I'm gonna be quiet and let us be enlightened by Greg, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, council. And hi, Tammy, I'm Greg Garataz. I'm with Financial Solutions Group, so I don't think we've met.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great day to be alive in Hancock County, right? So the county's looking awesome. Financially, we're looking awesome. And Kent, I guarantee you we're gonna get pennies from heaven. And so Sammy doesn't know
It's
what
called
that is,
fist
but you
pennies.
know it well, so stay tuned. Over the
every
next
year.
few months, you'll learn what pennies from heaven are and all those other
I always
things.
forget what, I have to say, what is that again?
It's fist money.
It's him telling us that we don't have any money coming, and then it drops on us, and then we
But where's
didn't
it
spend
dropping
it.
from? Well,
The extra
From
income
your
tax.
paycheck.
It's the
Well, we're
money,
not gonna get much then.
The income tax.
it's the money they didn't realize people would
That
make.
he underestimates.
Yeah.
We'll focus on that later, but here's the 13 points that I kind of want to go over. And Rick kind of just said, go high level. Obviously, I'm not deciding anything for you, you decide it. And, but I want to point out a few things, and I'm sure Gary will hit this in his spreadsheet and things like that. Number 1, what is the true unallocated amount of funds? That's going to be the critical question, right? Because why? We've got 2 current bond issues. We got 1 current bond issue and we got the amplified bond issue. We just spent several hours yesterday with Baker Tilly. We know appeals have hit. We know certain things like that are going on. And so that's going to be the really important item. So because the intent is once the bond is issued on amplified, we will go ahead and fund our debt service payments in advance, okay? And so that will subtract basically from the available revenues to get to the unallocated. Does that make sense? So if you got $100 and you got your mortgage payments of $50, you take your 100 minus your 50, and your unallocated would be the remaining 50. And I know that Gary has a lot of those already committed. Number 3, the RDC has the commitment to help the fire protection in Buff Creek Township. At some point, we kind of got to address when that, and maybe Gary will, but I'm saying don't forget about that. Number 4, the RDC has commitments to help fund police protection in Buck Creek Township. As you know, this has helped very, very well, and when we had that little issue out there at Walmart, I'm sure, you know, there's gonna be issues like that. And so, you know, there's things that are needed when you bring so many people together in such a location. So, number 5, what is the estimated flow after payments for 1, 2, 3, and 4? That's what I'm really talking about in number 1 is the unallocated amounts, right? Once we take that $100 and we start subtracting, and then that's what you, both the commissioners and the council, can kind of look at and say, here's what we'd like to spend those dollars on, obviously with Gary's input. Number 6, the two newer areas, Area 3 and 4, as I have labeled them, are obligated to bond payments, but will have more revenues in the future. So they'll be kind of coming about as we go up in 26, 27. But don't forget, there are bond payments, and this is developer bond payments. This is not taxpayer-backed bond payments. The only taxpayer-backed bond payments we would have is the current bond and the new amplified bond, and we're making 100% sure that we're not, or going to have 100% assurance that we're not going to have to fund that from taxpayer
Greg,
payments.
Area 3 and 4, is that hospital and Nine Star?
That's, I consider those like the GDI area and the GDI and the other one.
Oh.
What's the other?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So as he,
Okay.
yeah.
Mega site.
Now, number 7, be careful of a legislative change affecting TIF revenue streams. You wouldn't believe how many legislative changes I'm hearing right now that could make your TIF revenue go down. And so we gotta really be protective. You know, we knew those appeals would be large, but I think Baker Tilly was even surprised by the amount that they were. And Mary, you kept giving us a heads up, and you know, when we discussed it, those paybacks were coming from the TIF district, not from the general fund, so to speak. So a current example would be if two municipal towns annexed into a TIF district and or consolidated, kind of what we saw up in not Westfield, but Zionsville and things like that. Remember, they created 6 different tax rates almost in a 1-mile area because of all this segregating and separation. We're talking a nightmare. We're talking Janine, Bill, if she was next door to Tammy, she might have 2 different tax rates. So, and Tammy, we won't make your higher since you're the new person in this theoretical. Janine's would be. So that's important to understand. So, you know, there's not only the ones that I think are being pushed here locally, but I told Jim there's one where they're talking about doing bubble annexation, allowing a town to go out 1 mile past its borders and annex. That's alive and well and in the working draft area. So we got to be real careful that things don't get, I like to say at the 23rd hour, stay tuned, because that's when it's going to really come out of the sausage grinder. Okay, so we got to stay up on that. Number 8, the uses of funds are always following the guidelines. Generally, I put them roads, drainage, bridges, and the question's going to be, as we move forward, would water and sewer beyond what we've done with 9-Star and with the, or what we're talking about with 9-Star and or the hospital, would we go beyond that? The RDC, number 9, the RDC may be able to do more projects now by bonding and not waiting to do, and what we're talking about there is after the amplified got done, there might be some small projects that we can do to improve Gary's cash flow, but we're talking more, again, the vision that Rick kind of gave me was look out, 3 to 5 years. So, number 4, will water and wastewater be a priority? That's going to be the question. Number 11, there's no doubt bridges are very expensive, but they are an awesome catalyst for development. We've seen all across the state of Indiana, a new intersection gets put in, development happens in or around it. Now, if you're Russia County, you're still waiting for it, but on their interchange, but that's a lack of water and sewer in that instance. What priority, if any, will you give to turn back of excess valuation? Remember, what that means is each and every year you got to do a finding that you have no excess, and we've never had excess. I don't project that you will, but what you want to plan as far as other capital projects are going to be important, because I think the legislation on TIF districts is going to get harder and harder. Remember, we've got that spending plan now that we have to adhere to, and I think there's going to be accountability coming on reviewing, having DLGF or somebody review that spending plan. So that's going to be important to kind of keep in mind. And so determining annually that you don't have it or why you don't have it may become more and more important. And then Rick wanted me to kind of say, you know, thinking out of the box, the county want to spend money on creative things. One of them I knew in Plainfield and not in the county, so to speak, but in Plainfield, they actually assist with having workers come out there and things like that. And that's one of the more creative things that, you know, other than the typical capital items that I have seen partner up with the allocation area. So those are 13 things to kind of keep in mind on the unallocated RDC funds. I noticed I just limited to that. I didn't go over to, you know, general fund, food and beverage, or anything like that. And so that's the guidelines, I guess, or the guardrails I want to put up and make you aware of. Questions? Okay, if not, who's going next, Rick? Gary, you're up. Thank you.
All right, good morning. I'll try to be brief. Everybody talks about Gary stuff. I am a public servant. You are the elected officials, as are the commissioners, and I'm a former Army captain. I'm a big believer in democracy. You don't have to make any decisions rapidly here, but you are the deciders on all of this. So keep that in mind, take it serious, and we will go through the current situation. Our strength here is we have a bunch of development out there, and the taxes are rolling on. So 8 years ago, we weren't getting taxes from all this stuff, and now there's a lot of money coming in. Our weakness is with land prices and current economy, we probably won't see a lot more new stuff developing out there. We've seen with Project Norn, some of those that we might have, we're probably gonna be static for a moment with development out there. So the tax monies we're collecting is probably the tax monies we're going to get. Luckily, they're covering all our current bills. And luckily, they have enough in future years, not next year or the next, but future years past that for other capital projects, should the elected officials have some of those ideas. The opportunity is we also are pretty good at leveraging that money towards grants. We've always had a lot of luck with infrastructure grants. We've had some grants with amplifying some other things and some other grants for our utilities out there. So those are some opportunities ahead of us, and other grants will come up. We just had a new governor get in place. I think this governor is a little more hawkish budget-wise, so I think those opportunities might diminish a little bit, but we'll find out over the next year what opportunities still remain. Now, the main threats to us are, as Mr. Garitas already said, there's legislation. Anytime you have money, people are going to want a part of it, especially our state partners. They're good partners when it comes to giving us grants, and they're also would like to see money back too. So, you know, like any friend, they come with both things. The other threats is there's been a lot of appeals on property tax. I've reincorporated the new appeals into the cash flows in the, some of you have seen this before, that's on the TV screens in front of you, but it's also in the back of the packet that you have. So I've just incorporated that yesterday because Caitlin just got that to me. This sheet here. And what's important is 2 lines on the bottom. The first line, anywhere from the public, I have somebody sitting up here. The very bottom line is the percentage chance that we won't overrun the bonds with the current spending situation that we have. So you can see the year above, you can see down below, different percentages we're going to overrun the bond or not. So 100% is good, but you can tell in some years like 2031 or whatever, is not as solid, not as solid position. So you can spend money now and create a problem 7 years from now.
We're struggling with the size of the.
Okay, I'll put the TV in front of us and I can vote.
You know what I wish?
I'm good.
Big
You-
ones.
Like I said, you don't have to decide today, but you notice I have to put my glasses back on.
I can't.
Anytime I come in, it's gonna be an eye test.
Seriously.
you know. So this year, for instance, we're 20% right now. Well, I don't want to describe all the math in this, but that is what we're talking about when it talks to basically 25 and 26. We're not gonna be doing any big capital projects. To be frank, we couldn't put together a capital project that fast anyway. All right. What you'll wanna do when you get a chance, not now because the writing's too small, is to go through this. In particular, you're gonna wanna look at what our current situation is and what we wanna spend on. I'll talk about some of the projects we're working on. Obviously, we have a multitude of road projects. We have an interchange set up in 2031. That's probably our most expensive one on the thing. We're finishing 600 West right now. We have 2 more sections of 300 North. These are all programmed, and these are all 80% granted from the state. So these are on the way. And at any point, please stop into my office. Call first, especially if it's snowing. I might be out on the road. But come in and visit me in the office, and I go into a little more depth on this. And of course, when you have your breakout sessions today, swing over there if you have a specific question about something. Come ask me about it. That's why I brought all the computer and stuff in. But basically, we have bond payments. We have overhead, just general management, lawyer fees, CPAs, whatnot. We have a bunch of projects. Currently, we have 3 projects committed in McCordsville, and we have an MOU for another $17 million in McCordsville. That's the MOU, so everything, when you go look at this, everything green we've committed to, everything yellow is a lesser.
Gary, is the numbers at the bottom accumulative from left to right, or is it individual per year?
Cumulative,
Okay,
cumulative.
so if one year is 3 and then the next year is 9, that doesn't mean it's 12 in 2 years?
No.
Okay.
Now, I'm running, this is a risk analysis. Something recently, in the beginning, I use a standard deviation about how wrong we are about what our expenses are. Every year I have more expenses or less expenses than I anticipated because we're all human. And I'm wrong by about $500,000 a year over the history of this thing. So no matter my best efforts, I'm probably gonna be wrong plus or minus $500,000 a year. In the beginning, we thought our revenues would be very stable. Turns out we're wrong on our revenues, a standard deviation of about $800,000 a year, especially with this year's big reduction in thing. So that has added a lot of variability year to year. So that is a risk. I think we're very healthy, but as Greg said, however, there is variability. There's political variability, there's appeals variability. For instance, if I run 100 simulations, not to bore you, each year. And let's say next year, with these variabilities, we could have a maximum of $8 million over. Or if we have a really bad year on expenses and things, we could be $1.6 million in the hole. Now, that's only 5 times out of 100 that I would anticipate that we would not be able to make our bond payments. But there is a 5% chance next year, if things go bad both ways, that we might not be able to make the bond payments. The goal was to keep it 90% chance or greater that we'd be successful. So that's where we are right now. Now that said, would it be the end of the world? No. We would probably, if the worst happened, we'd probably watch our spending and then make up for it the subsequent years and load back into it. But just keep in mind there's some variability here. Hopefully that calms down over the next 2 years. If you look down here, that's a little hard to see on the numbers. I did make a graph of it. If you look at the TV screen, this shows the gray line is the average amount of money within the RDC. The blue line is the worst case, which is the 0 lines here, if I'm moving back and forth, and the orange line is the best case. So right now, at the end of this RDC period, which we're why we're here talking today and to start brainstorming stuff, we're $50 million, and this is including all of Amplify in it. So we were at $100 million, but now we've done an Amplify project, so we've taken a $50 million chunk out of it. We'll be $50 million of unallocated spending by that point. So that's why it's important for the elected officials to have a chance to try to program what that is. If you look at, I probably need to do this with your general budget too. I was just thinking about that yesterday because I don't know what variability you're seeing there, but I'm sure it scares you guys sometimes. That just so you know, I ran a general run of the general budget, and that's how that's been growing over the last several years. From the terrible times like pre-2010 when it was scary to now that we're just trying to be Greg's put us in a good spot here. We still gotta be vigilant, but like that. So when you break out, So that is our current situation money-wise.
So the graph represents also the amount, if you look at 6 years, 7 years from now, it represents the amount of new companies we took on 2 and 3 years ago.
Correct.
Because they have 10-year tax abatements, and those companies, since I've been here, really started kicking on in, let's say, 19, 20, 21, and 22. And so that's why the dip in the graph goes down. They're still in tax abatement, but when they get out of tax abatement in year 6 and 7,
Yeah.
then all those companies, the full amount of the revenue comes in.
That graph would probably be the most useful for you to look at when you're talking. It accounts for all the expenses, all the revenues without any
also-
dreams, and
Right.
and the wildness. It shows a range of how wrong we could be.
Well, and keep in mind too, typically these, businesses are in abatement, about year 6 or 7 is when they really start paying, and they start appealing.
Yep.
Right.
And all that's loaded into this.
Because
Yeah.
yeah.
So I count for those appeals
it
and stuff,
also
catching
accounts
that with the variability.
For no income in more than half of our TIF districts.
Correct.
Because it districted 3, 4,
But we're seeing
5,
some, I'm like,
there is no income at all in
You're gonna
those
see me the next council
this
meeting,
point.
transfer professional stuff in the RDC to, 4624 instead of
Right.
4616, because there's $1 million in there now. However, let's get back on task. So, some general ideas, because you guys need time to talk. If you read through the memo, I'm not gonna read the memo to you. You have some ideas. You can fund local projects within the county, within the cities, things like that. Everybody who lives here is a citizen of Hancock County. Greenfield has ideas, New Palette, everybody has ideas, and they can come to these elected groups. And because I work for you and everybody else works for you, you can say, hey, we'd like these projects to come to fruition. You could direct fund. I'm still a big fan of trying to get some parkland. I know we're using that, so you could work on some of that. All these things have to be checked by Lisa Lee, our attorneys, and all this stuff like that. But these are just ideas. We're just brainstorming now. We need to talk about if you want to close the TIF areas at some point. We need to think about that now. I know it's 10 or so years from now, but those are stuff that we need to think about now, how that looks like. Do we need a political effort for a special levy? Things like that, different ways that can come. That's all in the memo, what that looks like. Annuities or trusts. I know it's been a long time since we've done those. Most of these funds are set up to be capital expenditures because they will go away one day. So if we want to start converting to operational stuff, other than getting a special levy, you can talk about, well, we don't have a home for this money, but we could put it into an annuity or something and have that fund things to take pressure off the general fund. These are all just ideas. A sports park or some other item like that. So we're talking about mostly parkland, just be like wild forest or stuff like that, but an actual maintained park of some type. It was a sports park 5 years ago, what they're talking about, but things change, elected officials change. But some large thing here, that's actually programmed into this as well in one of the years, which you can see in the stuff. Or county is developer of a neighborhood. This is similar to like a West Clay or something. If you want to actually take a neighborhood, try to make one of those cute little neighborhoods that everybody else will come to, like for Christmas Kind Market or something like that, where you try to build an area like that where it could be supported by usually younger, either singles or young families supporting something like that. Those are ideas as well. So I'm not going to read through the memo because you can read through those on the breakout sessions. You are in good shape. You do have time to make a decision because you're not going to be able to leverage a lot in the next couple of years because, one, we can't do a capital project that fast, and two, it's too variable. I'd be too nervous to let you. I would advise you against running too fast in the next couple of years. We've done Amplify, and that's soaked up most of our risk room, if you know what I mean.
Right,
It's safe.
We've done Amplify, but it's not done.
Yeah, exactly.
We
It's
got a lot-
soaked up our risk room.
We still got a lot to do with Amplify for the next year and a half to get it open.
If you just went by the average, what things would be, you're absolutely fine. But my job is, the guy with the math, is to tell you there is a risk bound there. And we don't want to put the lower side of that risk in a dangerous place.
Can I ask one question? What, so everybody knows, what is the state requiring us to prove we have money, we have the expenses to use the money? How far out?
We have, Deborah will tell you now, we have to file an additional report on the TIF districts each year now.
For
And
1
it basically,
year out or for 3 years out?
it was 7 years out.
7 years out.
Is this the first year that we did that?
The requirement's one.
The ones we're submitting are 7 years out. Yes.
The
We're
fear-
required to show next year.
The fear is,
Ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
Yeah, but was this the first year that we had to do that?
Yes.
report?
Yes. Now, we've always been supplying that for our grants and stuff like that, which is probably why we've been successful with them. They know what our plan
But like
is.
a yearly thing? that-
Yeah, Deborah and I just submitted on to, did we just put that up last month?
I thought it was.
It's not terribly complex, and we were already kind of submitting it anyway, but we had to submit a specific report on what we're spending.
Yeah, I have to admit, I appreciated the report myself. It was very
Yeah.
informative and it was pretty simple.
Yeah, it's nice that this is what I just put in front of you. You're gonna have a glass of wine and have that put you to bed at night. I get it, but it's nice to have this simple report put in, but it's only for 1 year.
But the fear is that we give them a report 7 years out and they come back and say, well, year 6 and year 7, what are you gonna do with that money?
The state
If you
can't even
don't
plan
take it,
that
we're
far
gonna
out, but
take it.
yeah.
They're already trying to figure out how to take it.
They haven't come back for any money yet. They're doing legislation. That's always a fear. I do find being open with
That's six
open
more-
with communications
Six
is
more
better government.
legislative sessions between
We're
now
not
and
hiding
then.
anything.
I know, but they're always trying to
Oh, I
figure
know.
that out on everything.
But that's why we gotta prove we don't have excess money, just, it's gonna be sitting around.
Okay. So
Today's about
that, I know we have breakout sessions. I don't want to soak up all the oxygen in the room. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I will have all this information. When you get specific questions, just hit me up on it.
That's why we have grant.
Thanks, Greg. Did that help kind of set the framework for what we want to talk about today?
Two of the people.
The other thing I would suggest, as you break into groups, don't forget, we spent a month ago talking about the county farm. What could be there? And I think that maybe we may have to reference, can we use dollars for that? I think
No, you can't.
we can. We can. Yeah, if they wanted to do development at the county farm, if it enhances the quality of life in the community
No.
and serves some of the needs, would that be possible?
It's not a TIF district.
No.
Our thoughts on it.
We'd have to
Yeah.
go to the county farm.
So you'd have to do some things, but yet,
I've
at
already-
this point in time, as you start to think about what are priorities, what are the best ways to use these funds to serve the community, that's what we should think about. So again, let me run through where people are gonna be in the breakout. Janine, Kent, Scott, and Tammy are here at table 1. Jim, Mary, and Ron are here at table 2. Table 3.
Like moving the courthouse.
Yeah, something like that.
It would only be a part too, because crimes happen out there, obviously.
And then back in this corner is
Water
Gary, Randy.
and infrastructure, yes. You can buy it and say, well, this is where we're gonna get our water for the TIF district. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, you can't.
Yes.
Can we put, Brad got eliminated from this list?
Can. We can certainly do that.
If he has.
I'm not really excited about spending a lot of money on transportation, bringing people into the county.
I think we gotta work on the roads for this TIF district.
Transportation, bringing people into the county, we want them to live here. You know what I'm saying? We don't,
That brings crime too.
yeah, we want them to live here.
Even our constituents all around there.
That's a blue line and all that crap. I heard they did where they take a road and you can't drive on it, and they take a bus and they haul 3 people a day to the airport. That's going in Cumberland. Yeah, it's coming all the way.
I want to come, there's guys.
Nobody rides those buses either. There's too much crime on them. But they take a whole road. You know what I mean? They take. I know, it's a crock of crap.
So I can't, now I'm doing the commission. They got lobbyists for us now. Oh, yeah. We have lobbyists. We pick up the phone. Yeah, that's what. move somewhere else. So that makes things real comfortable all of a sudden. But now we want to, let's say we want to add in, let's just say the utilities, let's say we bought it for 10 years, let's say it's a $15 million project. Find a home for this. I'll spare our GDI here.
we'd like to do like we did last time is have whoever's going to present from your group present here at the microphone. So Mary can capture that as well as my meeting notes at the end. So who'd like to go first? Which group would like to go first? Don't all start at once. All right. Mary? Get her done.
My group is Judy Holly and Robin Lala and
Group 3, who started?
Group 3. Our first priority was to make sure that the bonds are secure, that the funding is always available to cover what the bond payments will be over time. The second item that we have on here is roads, that the traffic flow in and out of the TIF area up to but not into the, including the unincorporated but not into the incorporated areas. That we should prioritize roads. There should be a fund set up, a perpetual fund set up for road maintenance, so that there's always something there that if these roads and these roundabouts get built, that there's always a perpetual fund that there can be maintenance done on these roads, so that it's not all of a sudden, I need money for this road repair. We should, keep in mind the 200 West interchange and support what needs to be done to get that to happen. They're estimating that our county cost will be somewhere around $20 to $22 million. Support of the taxing units, capital and operating needs of the affected area by the TIF, for example, fire, rescue, sheriff, 911. Support other areas around the TIF for infrastructure, water, sewer, their kind of needs. And generally, RDC dollars spent in unincorporated areas associated with TIF, so the monies need to stay in the unincorporated areas and the fringe of what the TIF area is as what we do in the TIF, which is out to outside the TIF. And we support the idea of county parks. We're anxious to see where that takes us. We've not really been given much feedback on what county commissioners are expecting to do, but we do support that. And return any excess dollars to the underlying taxing units.
Thank you.
You can read that through the.
Well, you're going to keep that for a minute, then I'll. All right. Group 3, how about you? Kayla, you want to go? Please. And Mary can report. You need to talk into the mic a little better after you ask.
All right. All right, so our group in the back there, we focused on the 200 West interchange as one of our primary areas of concern. Definitely are all in favor of funding a land use plan in that area that would really program out the types of development that occur around Amplify. So that focus on Amplify really as the flagship construction at the 200 West interchange. And also then, of course, seeing that corridor develop correctly all the way really up to 234, where it intersects with the Mount Vernon School District campus in that area, which could include potentially new road routes, things like that, to get around areas that are sensitive to heavy traffic. Additionally, we are interested in making sure that public safety is adequately represented in this newly developing area. So if there does need to be something like a new fire station at 200 West or a substation for our sheriff's department, that this would be a prime location to program that in. Also, we recognize that we have the Mount Comfort Corridor Land Use Plan that has been passed and really needs to be further implemented. So looking at how we can further implement that corridor plan, especially through what was the Mount Comfort Village area, possibly through beautification, possibly through consolidation of problem parcels, things like that that could help with how that area further develops. And of course, we're interested in how the parks, how green space could be preserved through those areas. Group, am I missing anything? All right, that was it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
On to that for another round. All right, group one, please, Ken.
Okay, so just like everybody else, the priorities, the first couple priorities involve the stuff that are basically already baked into the scenario, making sure that all the police, fire, safety, all of those things are taken care of. We already have a lot of that already in the budget, and with escalations, there could be some additions to that as it goes on, because the amount of money that's still gonna be left out there could still sustain some additions to that. The roads, you know, Gary has a 20 or 25-year road plan. It's already baked into the scenario, and like I said, there could be some additions to that too, but it involves a lot of streamlining of the traffic and stuff already that's going to go up through McCordsville and those areas there. So as long as we keep a positive relationship with McCordsville, those monies should be available for those things. Okay, and that without sounding controversial, but that positive relationship probably is determined by the legislation over the next few years. So those things are old news for me, because those are already baked in. We're already working on those things. Those things got to keep going. And then, and at the same time, baked in for the bonds that we have, making sure those get paid and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about new money coming in that we don't have ideas what's happening with. So after you get past all the existing stuff that we're doing and maintaining everything, make sure we don't drop anything that's in the air right now. We thought the next priority after that would be developed around parks. We do know from the Ball State study that there's going to be thousands of new homes built between us and McCordsville. We also know that McCordsville is going to double their occupation, they have plans already that have been approved, and additional plans to almost double the population of their city. It's going to create any residential stuff, especially that's created between here and there, will have to have quality of life issues, which include parks, water, sewer, all those things, and they run hand in hand. We have a real good relationship with 9 Star right now. Mike told me personally, Mike Burrows from 9 Star, that if we got to the point where we were locating property that would secure water for the future for that area, would secure places they could put more sewer plants or whatever in that area, that he would be directly involved in helping us do that. And so I think the parks is the emphasis right now. Right now it's kind of a clean slate up there. There's ground, okay? There's 25 farmers up there that have banded together to sell their property, and so they're marketing it, and there's ground up there, and I think in the next short term, meaning 5 years, we need to figure out what ground we need for that, what ground includes the infrastructure or the resources we need to support that area, and then we need to start purchasing that ground. We've done a real good job last year of adding some more ground to our existing site there at Amplify, so we have room for daycare, we have room for fire stations, we have room for police substations already. So so our thought was it's time to expand on what ground we're gonna need, because if we wait till it all gets sold off and it all gets moved out and there's apartment buildings built on the property, how are we gonna then come back later with the quality of life and the resources we need to provide to sustain that? Yep.
Very good. So we've got kind of a plethora of ideas, right? Plus we have Gary's original ideas. Some were added to, but they're out there. They're on the list. So I want you to take 10 minutes. This is going to be different than what we did last time. Last time we went through after you had the
Our top three, number one is the interchange, supporting and getting that up and running. The second is traffic flow now, what is going on down in Buck Creek Township with getting the intersections and the roundabouts and get the traffic moving. I represent Buck Creek Township as District 2, and a lot of the emails I get is traffic flow from down there. Parents in lines behind semis that can't get to the school on time and pick up of their kids because of traffic, because of the constant flow of traffic or not flowing of traffic. And with that, a future perpetuation fund to maintain those roads coming out of the RDC. So there's always monies to take care of what the needs are in that area. Number three is support of infrastructure, infrastructure and public safety.
Good, good. Thank you. Now we'll try to wrap it. Kayla, you gonna do our, some group three? You're okay? Come on up. Be prepared to fight here. All right, here's the top three from group three.
All right. I don't think any of this was earth-shattering, but I'm a big believer in trying to finish out what we've got planned before we try to break into too much new stuff. So that land use plan for 200 West, that's coming. So getting that land use plan not only created, but also then providing funds for the continued implementation. We've seen that if we don't look in, really follow through on implementation, it's just a book. So, so definitely looking at funds for implementation of that plan at 200 West, which could include things like how that road corridor looks, where exactly it's going, and also potentially ownership of key parcels along it to ensure that it does develop the way we need it to around Amplify. Continued implementation of Mount Comfort Plan. I know that's old news from 2018 at this point, but beautification and continued implementation of that plan are very important, and that could include, once again, ownership of now problem parcels along that interchange that have either failed to develop for a number of reasons or are oddly shaped, or who knows what is standing in the way. So identifying those problems and then looking at ownership of those key parcels, basically to redevelop them. And third, well, I think I kind of covered it. That was, yeah, the beautification and purchase of key parcels was kind of like this. Yep, 2 and 3. There we go. Thank you.
Thanks. Ken?
You ain't gonna like our notes.
I'll do my best.
Okay, so, we did like the idea of some future, right now there's not a perpetuation fund baked into the scenario of any amount. It's Jerry's long-term 20-year road plan is that perpetuation fund, but there's not a miscellaneous fund built into that we don't know what's, the current flows, he's already working on, unless there's some magic thing out there that nobody knows about that he can't think of, like the expansion of 300 North and all that. Those grants are already being applied for. Those projects are already in. And so it's not really new, but it's continuing on. The only new thing is that we know what that's gonna cost, and we have that money already baked in. We don't have miscellaneous money baked in that would be in a perpetuation fund. New fire station, new police station, new daycare, those are new things that we hope we have money to help build, okay, that we have money left over to help build. If we get future projects, if we get a different NORA, okay, that comes in, they will though help us build those structures. If their $10 billion project requires us to have another fire station, then in that project, they will have to help us build that too. So it's not 100% funded by us. And we're not gonna just just build one out there waiting for something else to happen. And it might not, if it doesn't happen. So those things will come online along with the additional revenue that comes from that facility. We do, though, have the land to do it already, but that's all the land we have. We don't have the land for a new road that cuts through, the shortcut through the property to a facility like that, which if you've seen the mega project land layout, there is new roads, brand new roads that aren't there today in that. We don't have those roads built into the system right now. So that's new. We don't have the property for future parks right now. We don't have the property for securing the resources for that area. We don't have those stuff right now. And I liked her idea, even if we bought ground around those areas and later on, it turned out to be not the specific ground we needed or something, we could sell those parcels back off. We don't have to keep it for 200 years like a cornfield out east of town. So it is a good investment, and it's the only way we can secure in the future. Purchase real estate as soon as we can. It's the only way we can secure in the future that we have the ability to support all that other stuff that's coming. And parks doesn't just mean recreation. Parks means infrastructure, it means resource allocations, it means everything. I know people think, oh, a park, well, we're just gonna go out there and be able to walk the dog or play soccer. That's a little part of it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the quality of life and all the resources, infrastructure needed to support an area that's gonna be double and triple the size of the towns around us. Sorry.
Thank you. Very good. Well, thank you all. It's a hard way to start a morning at 8:30 to put your thinking caps on and brainstorm, but you did a great job. As I mentioned, I'll get notes together, get them out, get them to Mary so they can be published in your board packet as well as you start to look at that. County farm, maybe put all those in that whole plan for you to think about. Yes.
Rick, do you think it'd be advantageous for now to select an ad hoc group that may carry some of this stuff?
I think that's certainly something that you should consider as commissioners and council. I would suggest a joint ad hoc group to keep it moving, right? And I think between Greg and Gary, you've got two incredible experts that can help provide input and feedback. You're an expert. You're an expert at something. You're sitting at the table. So anyway, they can provide feedback and help provide some guidance because they live it all the time. Yes.
What, I was planning was to do this for the board, everyone, and then in the next meeting, talk about setting up the ad hoc.
Okay.
There'd be one for the farm and one for the RDC, and we need to talk about, well, we don't wanna probably set them up so that you have to, have an official meeting. So that would mean like maybe one commissioner, 3 council, you'd have 2 of those, so, we could be thinking about who wants to see on it, which one.
Did you hear what Jim said? He said he's looking at one for the county, he's gonna recommend one committee for the, as an ad hoc committee for the farm and one for the allocated RDC. Okay, and keep them small committees, working committees, that then can then come back and report to the group as a whole. Right?
What
As they
is-
start pulling those. So,
What about keeping people, like Scott Rubel and people from the community?
I think that's a call based on your group, how much community input you want on those individual committees, obviously. I mean, I think that's certainly something to discuss, right? I think from my experience, what you don't wanna get is a committee of 12 people and you sit around and you don't get things done, right? You spend a lot of time talking, and all of a sudden a year's gone, priorities are changing in 6 months, right? So you know that. What you're trying to do is get a framework put together to move the needle, right? So, does that make sense?
I think maybe we to talk about budget meeting.
Okay, so Jim's suggesting you talk about it at the next budget meeting, where you'll talk about that in more detail, right? You'll have a packet that will include meeting notes from both sessions. You should have the one from the county farm already, but but I'll resend those and have these as well, okay? All right. Any closing thoughts from the committees? Or the group? You're not committees, you're groups, sorry. If not, thank you. Thank you for your attention. Again, Gary, thank you for your help. Greg, thank you very much for your help. You're out, 34 minutes early. You can get on with your other work. Okay, Jim suggested a 5-minute break and then reconvene.
So, Rick said he was gonna probably be picking up trash today. I'm gonna hold him to that.
Well, no, he called me last night. And so I've got Cesar's have to drive for Rob. Rob will be there, but yeah, Rick called me last night, so he's gotta go to the doctor appointment today, so you're gonna be there till tomorrow. Yeah, Christmas is over. I had 4 people not there Monday. I had one person not there yesterday. I got another person not there. Christmas is over.
You had a chance and you missed it.
Back to the ground.
That's my opportunity. After my 3 points, I could have won. I forgot. You forgot. You forgot I mic dog.
You know, we're looking, make sure that there's nothing, no fires.
Fires and desk sanitation. Oh, Quartzville dropped CGS.
They go to priority?
Priority. I've never heard that one.
Yeah, they're a company out of Chicago
We
that
got new
came in
buckets.
a few years ago. They came in when Ray's sold to Waste. Then Priority came in because there was such a huge void that Waste dropped like 10,000 customers the first month or two. They couldn't handle because Ray's, when Donnie sold to Waste, when he walked out the table, like 300 drivers walked off. Yeah, so it was a horrible.
It was a mess.
And I actually think Waste called Priority and said,
You need to
yeah, they
bid
may
on
even,
this.
they may even be part of it.
Brown Township. Okay.
Mary, go ahead and have you sign the county's form of nepotism and the conflict of interest.
Okay.
These don't go anywhere, but just in our files.
Yeah. And where do you live at? Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you so much. You're off my list. Check me out.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize there was a, I mean, my kids went to Eastern, of course, but I didn't realize there was a issue. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, I would imagine though, the water, it has to be at a safe level, because I'm sure it's tested. I did not know that.
I bet Jamie does. So just that reminder as well.
Okay. I'll look forward to seeing it.
Julie, I know her.
I do.
I told you.
Yes.
Stephanie would ask.
Okay. Yeah, but he's busy. County Commissioners, compliance,
A little bit.
county contract to school
Oh,
policy.
yeah, so it just says you're going to.
Let's bring this thing back.
Well, it's your show today, this is your show today. And I'll yell, but the budget meeting got to choose.
Now we're gonna have the budget meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
You wanna tell them what you?
We
Let's
still,
start.
we still have two that
Did
aren't
we
here.
lose Scott?
Order in the court.
Order in the court.
I don't know where he wasn't in the
Robin?
restroom.
His
Where did
coat's
Robin
here.
go?
Yeah, he and Robin took off. Are you doing council business now?
Yes,
Well,
we have a quorum. I don't know where,
I don't know
where Scott or Robin is.
Robin's in the hallway talking to Greg.
They'll show up.
Okay. Well, let's get going.
Would you
Let's go through the,
ask him to go
fund-
after and tell her?
the year-ending situation. As you can see, if you pull out your fund numbers, after Mary gets her cream on her hands.
I wash them, they get really dry.
Did you get your margarita during the?
In the bathroom.
Robin, see if you were sitting next to me, Robin, I would have.
You know why? Because Robin still hadn't realized. No.
No.
These are my papers.
Robin, right there.
Would you like some more papers?
We're waiting, Robin.
Oh, this is our non-collusion one.
I was afraid he was gonna run away. I'm sorry, Mary.
Okay, let's go through the
I'm sorry,
fund
Jim.
report for the end of the year.
Okay. I got
Talk
mine.
about the end of the year
Already been through.
stuff. We'll 22, we kind of watch, that's healthy. Then the two cum funds, the bridge and the cum capital, ended pretty well. Health fund, 1159, that's the health department, looks good. And then two under that, 1161 is the, the health first, that grant. I don't know about any of it. Lit public safety is healthy, although we drained some out of it. Rainy day is static. Questions or comments, just whistle as we go. Then page 2, go down to 1213 CASA is plus 1222 E911 keeps coming down slowly. Then the 3 or 4 lit funds, I'm sorry, the 3 lit funds, the 1233 and 34, that's the correctional, both the capital and the operating capital fund is really healthy, and that's where we're gonna spend some of that money for a second, another building out at the jail for miscellaneous.
What number was that, Jim? Which lit?
33 and 34. 33, I think, is the capital one with the 7 million in it. And then lit public safety keeps coming down slowly. Then the drug court 2501 is positive. Page 3, 2509 is behavioral court above water. 4,200 animal control violations. We keep getting some more.
How much money is in it? 8,300.
And then we go through, 4616 is the allocation fund, the TIF allocation fund that we were just talking about here. And then we've got the bonds, and the 4624 is the TIF area, the west TIF, the second TIF that we were talking about. And then you've got the 4626 and 28, those are the 2 TIFs, I think, that are on the south side of 70. One's the hospital, one's the 9-star. And then the jury pay fund, the last one, is in the black. Thank you, auditor.
Thank you.
Page 4, 5901, 5902, the health claims. We ended up with a little bit of money in there. And then right at the bottom, 7201, food and beverage. And then page 5, those are all the grants.
Makes our job a lot easier, doesn't it?
There was a couple of them are negative, but they always are, so nothing to worry about. Then page 6, right in the middle, the CARES Act and the ARPA funds. We are getting the ARPA down to close to 0, which is good. Any comments?
I will say the ARPA funds have all been obligated, and anything that you still see in that fund is just like the jail navigators. Although it's been obligated, we just haven't paid them
Oh,
out
it
yet.
comes out of that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're
We're
good. Okay, thank you.
So, quick comment on Jim alleges I go in the weeds, so from Mr. Weed. The general fund, as you can see, went from the 19.9 to the 21.601. We looked at, Mary and I looked at the interaction between 5901 and 5902 and the general fund from the end of 23 to the end of '24. And the accounts payable actually grew by over $1 million. So meaning outstanding accounts payable, if you clearly know what that is in your business, Ken, that if you had paid it in the year that it was posted, it would have affected your balance by about $1 million. So I think my point there is we did have the 5901 go up by 500 because we transferred.
Right.
But we also did not pay $1 million in, if you did accrual accounting, it would have taken that 21 and probably impacted it more. So could be as much as 500 to, so we would be down to around 21 million, maybe less than that. That's why accrual accounting will be coming to a theater near you in several years here. And so, and the $750,000 expense for doing it. will be
Are
coming.
you saying there are some health-related bills out there
That we paid.
haven't paid?
We paid in the first week of January.
Okay.
That
not
were
in
for the year
2024.
prior.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that was the difference in the two time periods, almost $1 million. So keep in mind that those things make a difference eventually. That's my point.
So they don't do any accrual accounting right now, so that's why they have to encumber some things into the next year. But the stuff that we pay in January that were for last year are considered new expenses, even though they were for last year's.
From cash.
From
in
cash.
a cash account.
And what you're saying is when they change that in the future,
Oh,
We'll
absolutely.
have a
It'll come
one-time.
back in and it will reduce the cash balance. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, while we're talking health, we were talking about taking the balances.
Yeah, so let me
in-
answer that because we did a little homework. We found there was about 286,000 that was not transferred. Some of that 286 was restricted funds, which
Okay.
we could not.
Good.
So Mary and I are totally on top of it. And we're going to get, once we roll the 25 budget, we're gonna line up what we've got available. And then we're going to specifically go in and address, if we have to, with the State Board of Accounts, any of those that are specifically restricted and we can't transfer. So,
But those we can transfer, we're gonna transfer
in 25,
in
yes,
20,
yes.
we're
yeah.
in
I
20,
think we've got an agreement, that's what we'll do.
we're in 25.
Right, right. But I meant not necessarily today, but in 25.
So we're in good hands with you and Mary.
Well, at the team, yes. Because again, we're not specifically allocating if you have a highway department person that needs a special drug, this is hypothetical, of $75,000. We're not going back and reallocating that special drug. The general fund is taking the hit of it. So any of those special situations, it comes back to the general fund. So really, the counting that we're doing, we're almost there, but we're not really doing it to the nth degree. So we either shouldn't be doing it, or we have to do it to the nth degree. You don't do it halfway.
Okay.
So.
And while you're up there, we did get the 1782, that's the approval of the DLGF for our 25 budget.
Right.
And in that, we made,
A slight
Well, we
adjustment
kept
to
the
keep a
rate.
flat tax rate.
Yes.
yeah, that
Yeah.
did happen.
Yes.
So our 25 tax rate will be about the same as the 24 tax rate?
No, it is the same, I believe, exactly.
It is the same. Okay.
Yeah, as 24. Yep.
Okay. If
So no tax
the other
increase.
members of the council remember what we did, our tax rate was gonna go up a little bit. So we decided to increase the how would you say that? I don't want to say that wrong. The general fund.
We decreased.
We decreased the general fund so that.
To decrease the general fund operating balance.
Right.
That is in the theoretical balance for 25, the end of 25, to flatten our tax rate.
Yep.
So we didn't take extra money.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there anything else about 24, 25 that you want to bring up?
Well, are we also talking 26? Because that was on the agenda too.
Yeah, and 27.
So, you know, as the salary committee meets, we're looking at, and Robin and I had this brief little discussion out in the hallway, what index to use, because in the past, we've been kind of looking at retrospective indexes, and there are prospective indexes, but we'll never chase inflation. Then I told Robin the salary committee needs to be really aware that the Hamilton County legislator said number one on the table is the growth quotient. Okay, the 5-year non-rolling farm payroll growth quotient, they're going to hammer it somehow. They aren't probably going to hammer it to the good. They're trying to figure out a new growth quotient to use. Good luck. You know, they struggled for many, many months on the non-farm payroll rollings, but I told everybody, remember, I said here, once it gets up to 4 and 5%, they're going to torpedo it. Well, that's what they're going to look at. So there could be a 2% growth quotient. So, you know, the salary committee may want to kind of consider that, and we really probably will not know until the 23rd hour in April. I think they go home in April. And so, you know, it's going to be that growth quotient is going to be really how they change it will affect how we go forward for the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Monumental, because they hadn't really, you know, if this was, when they set up that non-farm payroll, that was about 10 years ago. So
Okay.
they haven't changed it since.
Okay. And we did get the excess levy.
Yes, sir. So
And-
my advice there is as we get to 2026, we use certain departments in our write-up. We probably do want to consider in 2026 looking at those departments, and either if there are 3 departments, maybe doing 1 person in each, or deciding what department to do in 26 and then what department to do in 27. We do need to stay somewhat on the course of what we said we were using the money for.
Right.
There's no absolute there because they understand times change, and changing times means different things. But I think we said the growth meant this and this and this, and I think we do need to stay on that course a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
So that'll be part of the deliberations for the 26 budget.
Very much so.
We don't have to do anything for the 25 budget.
No, sir.
Okay.
No. But we started the 26 budget today.
Just so, you know, I took the salary ordinance and counted the full-time employees. And we have 361 full-time employees.
361?
That's what if you
So
look at
ultimately, the question is also, do you need only 355
Right.
in total?
Right.
Or do we need to go to 365 without going to 355? If you understand what I mean. I mean, that whole workforce, the question is it the right size in total?
Then another issue is the 2023 bond balance. We said that in 25, we would look at what balance we had in that bond and try to use that for the 25 cum capital expenses to shift some of those cum capital expenses that are in the budget to that bond to use up that money and therefore build up the cum capital fund. And I came up with it's about $550,000, I think, in that range. Would you agree?
We started out, it was about 800, then there was some operational stuff, or it had already been spent, so I think you're right, I don't have it with me, but he's
That
approximately
sounds all right.
So maybe the next budget meeting, we would have a number and be able to consider what cum capital items that are in the 25 budget that we want to put in that bond to use up all that bond.
Bernie has most of his capital expenses in the cum cap or not, but he's talked to me that he's getting ready to ask for a sizable amount of money because of a software that he needs to purchase that helps his office identify outside people who are trying to get in. It's not only just saying somebody's trying to get in, it will identify who's trying to get in. And then he had a 30% increase in all his leased equipment that he wasn't anticipating. So he is going to have a pretty sizable number to give us here, and if he's not on this next week, it'll be next month. So I don't know if that's something that that bond could capture.
Yeah.
And Mary, that is so important because, you know, last year, there was 2 or 3 southern Indiana, Monroe got hit, that's the biggest one. And they were down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and their email still doesn't really work. And so, you know, it's been costly.
Yeah, we want to spend the money.
No, it's upwards around, I think around $80,000 he's gonna be asking for.
80,000.
That's really not that much in the IT world.
No.
It is.
Does that give you a headache, Kent?
No, but that if it's a software, it might be a sustainable expense.
The software will be an annual, once it's
Annual,
in,
once
I think
you
about,
purchase, then you have
about
to,
half of that 40 or
Then you-
80,000 is,
you have to
We
increase.
can capitalize some of that though, you
Yeah.
know.
You capitalize the
Depends
initial
on-
expense maybe if
what we-
buying the software itself, but the ongoing expense is gonna add to his budget.
So no, that would be an
by
option.
about $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
Well, another item for the current budget is that the commissioners, I think last night, well, a little background. It seems that McCordsville and Cumberland have gone together and they are, you know, in
They're trying to establish a new political subdivision that would eliminate Buck Creek Township trustee's office and would take the fire department under their control. We did hire a lobbying firm yesterday that will take us through the process for the next 10 months and will support us as we go to the State House to fight the battle.
So you're asking for 28,000?
They
Uh,
spent it.
Hmm?
You already spent the 28.
No, we haven't spent it.
No, we haven't spent it.
They wanted to go ahead and get your input. It's not in their budget right now, so it would be $28,000 additional to what they've already have. So you can appropriate that money now or later, but they're gonna need that, because it was not accounted for in their
Yeah.
2025 budget.
We might as well go ahead, don't you think, Mary? And
I do think so, yes.
Yeah.
I
Food and
totally
beverage.
agree to
Take
support
it out
whatever
of
the
food and
commissioners
beverage.
need to do.
They help us pay food and beverage, they'll help us fight them. They'll pay for the
Yeah,
fighting
so,
themselves.
I guess,
I have the total amount in the car, was it 20, it was 28,000, 2,800 a month, for the next.
No, it wasn't 28,000 a month. It was-
2,800 a month.
Yeah.
Totaling 28,000 for 10 months, and then there could be an additional, $3,000 here, hit and miss for different expenses.
Incidentals.
But is it something we really need though?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I guarantee it, I guarantee it, it's gonna negatively
And then,
impact the
and then
tip.
the other thing, I know our lawyer's not here, the other thing is, there's some people that work for that entity that have connections to people on the council or commissioners.
What are you talking about?
you're gonna have to
I
spell it
think,
out.
didn't they say that Glenda Shelby was working?
She's retired.
Oh,
She does her
okay.
bookkeeping now.
Okay.
And I'll recuse myself.
Okay, but I was just wanting to do that as a lawyer. I don't want somebody to be looked at and said, oh, there's, any type of nepotism. That's why.
Yeah.
And you've got your conflict of interest.
You got
Okay.
ahead of me. You got ahead of me.
Oh, okay, that's just the lawyer in me saying, okay, I will protect everybody up here, we'll make sure everybody's.
Right.
So do you want us to make a motion, or do you want a thumbs up to advertise out of food and beverage?
You don't have to
You don't
advertise.
advertise. Is food and beverage got 31,000 in it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we take $31,000 out of food and beverage and set it aside for the commissioners to use for lobbying to protect our county.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Withstand?
I skip.
There we go.
And I will make mention that there's lots of legislation gonna go on that's going to affect, that will affect county government.
Yeah.
So they will assist us in all of that too. It's just not this one item, so.
Right.
I'd like to, as it plays out, kind of get an update as we go, just every now and then. If something has happened, to let us know where it's headed, or not, just keep
Sure.
us in the loop.
She's gonna send a report every Friday.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get a report every Friday and we can certainly share that amongst.
Yeah,
All
I'd
those
be
on
very
council.
interested in how this
Well,
goes.
I'd like to know if it's a House or a Senate bill, or something like that, so that
I don't see,
can
I looked
talk-
at the list, I didn't see it.
So I can talk to my representatives.
So do they
about it.
have somebody on their side carrying
They
anything?
do, Taft, the law firm of
No,
Taft.
I mean, a senator or a.
Yeah, I mean-
Jeter,
Jeter?
Jeter.
That's mine.
No, it's yours.
That's mine.
Yeah. But you're gonna have to have a conversation with
They
them.
approached, Senator Kreider
He said no.
and he said no. And,
Well,
that he
I'll-
would not carry that bill. And so they reached out to Chris Jeter and I guess he's agreed to carry it for them.
All right.
And as I've cautioned everybody, it's that Christmas tree bill
Mhm.
at the end,
End. That's exactly
which
right.
Representative Thompson already told me it's gonna be pretty big.
I'm sure it'll be pretty lengthy, and they'll just, and if it's a Christmas tree bill, they can slide that in, and you know what, you don't even know it, but Greg had mentioned earlier about the Zionsville debacle, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid here.
I'll set up a meeting with Jeter,
Yeah.
maybe have another couple. You wanna go?
Okay.
You wanna-
Yeah.
Next item. Since you're here, Janine, if you don't mind bringing up our thoughts, we had a little group going studying animal control
Right.
for 26.
Right.
And
We, Jim and I and Sheriff, we've met a couple of times now, and John Jocantus has been collecting all the data that we need as we approach animal management for 2026. We've got a good handle on it, the numbers through November. Sheriff has put together a spreadsheet that kind of shows where the monies are coming from and how much each community that is incorporated is using animal control. And once we get December's numbers and we have a full year look back at animal control, we'll be meeting again, and then we'll be working alongside. We wanna get a meeting with Mayor Titus and perhaps Van Riley or someone from the city council, and we can start to disseminate some of that information and possibly look at the incorporated areas paying for their own animal control, so that we're not boasting another $450,000 in 2027 or 476,000. I can't remember exactly what the dollar amount was, but it was quite a bit. And
Thank you.
is there anything else you wanted to elaborate on that?
No.
But thanks to
No.
the sheriff for running down all those numbers and.
Just, we intend to talk to them about using a formula in the future based on unincorporated versus incorporated
we got the final number. I thought Jim was gonna have a stroke there. But we got through it.
I
didn't we?
missed that part.
Well, I think we all about did, because it was heftier than it had been in the past. I think it went up about $50,000 from 2023 to
Yeah.
2024 to 2025.
Yeah, and they have a total budget of like $1.1 million
Million one or something like
or
that.
something for animal control operations. So,
Close, anyway.
at any rate, we'll move forward. We are talking to the fairgrounds people on
Yeah,
their
so-
use of the bond money.
Yeah, so the commissioner, I called Bill and said, with the fairgrounds, I feel pretty certain that we're gonna have to have bids, and they really don't. But that's also a legal call, and so I think Lisa Lee has said they're gonna have to have bids. And so if we're going to reimburse it from public funds. So we were trying to set up a meeting, as you know, Jim, just a Teams meeting with the fairgrounds, get their definition of what they've done. I told them in the meeting I had with them in December, boy, guys, I wish you would have come to us 6 months ago. You know, we could set you up for 26, we're going to have a difficulty on 25. We may have to, if it's steadfast, the rule is, if it's over $150,000, you have to bid it out, 3 bidders. Okay, if there is parts of this, I'm trying to dissect a part or two that is critical to the opening of the 25 fairgrounds, that maybe we may have to just pay for that out of cash. Okay, as long as the individual project is not a project of a whole. And in other words, if we say HVAC was $100,000, then maybe we'll have to pay for that out of food and beverage or at it and not have reimbursement. Okay, that may be the damage control. At one point in time, they said they had bids, but they weren't per the bid statute. So we are going to dissect that either next week or the following week, play damage control in any way we can, and then say, don't go this far down the road for the 26th and 27th. Let's do it right. Okay? Or according to state law.
That's fine. The numbers in here, there's enough that won't even phase F&B.
Yeah, remember, we're gonna have lots of demands on F&B in 2025. So,
Keep eating out.
yep.
We can.
Deb is doing her fair share, it is my understanding. But with the Italian restaurant
Money helps
closing,
most people that we spend on
might be
anything
down.
at one time, I think.
So that's where we're at on the fairgrounds,
Which is
Jim.
better
And,
than
and
do stuff.
at, you know, we're trying, Mary, if it's proper, we're trying to keep Jim just involved in the Teams meeting so he can come back and relate to council. But if anybody else wants to be involved, let me know. But this is just details.
Okay, that's great.
The dog,
Yeah.
I thought you meant the dog.
No.
As in, the doggy.
Oh.
You want me to fix that too?
And then for like longer term issues that I know we either have before us or will be coming up is one, future 911 funding. We're gonna have to be working on that, and I think you're involved in that.
And the sustainability shows that.
And sustainable, yeah.
An increase in possibly like the surcharge that they charge.
Not at the state level,
Yeah,
no way.
No.
Telco won't let that happen, so.
The other one is the North 9 sewer water project. There is a study going on that we're helping to fund with 9-Star, if you remember. We'll have the results of that sometime, and if we decide to participate in that, we would probably be looking at a bond to get that done, and it would probably like $1 million a year, dollars coming out of us someplace.
Can I ask a question about
For
that?
26,
years.
27.
Can I ask a question about that TIF district? Okay, so there was a TIF district created up State Road 9 all the way to 234, a mile on each side of State Road 9, if I understand right, or something like that, maybe not totally a mile. The businesses currently in that TIF district now,
They will stay.
does that money go into the TIF district?
No.
Or
I
it
don't
was
think so.
exempt out?
No.
So it's only future
It's
businesses?
anything that is built after the TIF is created.
So here's exactly what I'm doing on Ronald Reagan Parkway in Hendricks County. We are making these improvements and going to issue an edit bond with a specific reimbursement agreement with the allocation area that we have the option to reimburse our bond payments from the allocation area on an annual basis, okay? And that would be based upon a recommendation from the council to get that money at that point in time. So we would have that reimbursement agreement and have that, in essence, IOU, you owe us. If we bond and make that happen, then we have that right on an annual basis. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
that was kind of leading up to the question, if we partner with Nine Star to do infrastructure out on State Road 9, what percentage of that is our partnership commitment, and will be any of it reimbursed through the TIF after the fact?
That's what we'll be working out. And keep in mind, we're also going to we're trying to do the first ever joint relationship between a county, the state, and an REMC through SRF. So that will not take place until 26, 27, and we've got to get on their project priority list, which Nine Star and I know very good. And so that's coming.
Out of that, is there a possibility of state grant money coming in that would help?
I
or
would
not?
say absolutely not at this point, because those dollars are triple spent at the state level. Or not only triple spent, but quadruple asked for.
Okay.
And this would be a little bit, remember, we were trying to keep it more Maxwell and the cleaning up of the streams, because SRF does not fund economic development. They fund pollution. And that Nine Star and us are working in that direction, cleaning up the creeks, which, is critical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not having raw sewage go
But
in.
I would think there would be some state
What
money
other type of sewage is there?
available for, and you're saying it is, but
Is
it's
there cook sewage?
going elsewhere,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I would
I
not
was
count
wondering
on it
why
at this
they
point.
didn't
Why they
just
call
say
it raw.
sewage.
Yeah.
There is a little money going in that TIF up there though already.
Yeah. Yeah, so we could supplement
There-
if,
There is a little money going in that TIF already up
Oh,
there.
really?
It's, it's, TIF, I think TIF number 2,
TIF South too.
I think,
Well,
about
no,
$10,000.
Do you know what
So
was built?
there's
What it is?
some new company, I don't know whether it's Smith
It
or,
would have to be the part of Smith that has the meat plaque.
Yeah.
That's the newest thing.
or maybe there was an addition to that concrete company too,
Yeah.
so
TIF
they-
can capture
Yeah,
conditions, I
could be.
think.
something is going on up there.
yeah, but I guarantee you, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it on Ronald Reagan Parkway, you put some water in sewer and it starts happening.
Yeah.
We can't, matter of fact, we can't keep Brownsburg out of it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to issue $100,000 debt just to keep them out of it.
And you're thinking then that, if that occurs, then the money going into the TIF could help with that bond payment?
That's correct.
Or would that be accumulating to maybe do another project like that in
Either,
Charlottesville?
either or. That
Pardon?
would, either or.
Yeah.
We would kind of plan that out once we get there.
the hope is that this would generate enough money that then that could be used to skip on over to Charlottesville and do the same thing eventually down the road.
If you want to question, if you ever question why money needs to be spent up there for environmental, when you go to the grocery store there in Maxwell, their property line is right behind the building. And so you go, where does all the liquid that comes out of the grocery store? They have food and stuff. Where's the sinks? Where does all that stuff go? No one knows.
Sugar
Because
free.
there's no room there on site. So where does it go?
I don't ask questions like that. I
Well,
don't
no,
ask
I
questions.
Well, you need to ask
around, you
questions
go,
like that.
we have a business here, where does that go?
That ditch runs behind Jeff's parents, a house they built in 1947. And that ditch is part of, they've got some acreage and it goes right behind their house. And he can tell you things you don't wanna hear.
Well,
I think there's a
Never
term
in that
called
ditch.
leaching.
Trust me, it's very,
Yeah,
it's very polluted.
I have
Still
no
is.
idea how they,
So
how
it
they have it
really
stopped up
needs
and-
to be done.
Oh, it's
I
very
mean, we talk
polluted.
about Charlottesville, they have the same issue, but the same issue in Charlottesville we have in Maxwell.
Yeah, it's very polluted.
Yeah.
Still is.
Well, Charlottesville has a creek running right through the middle of it, so you
Right.
know where that stuff goes. It goes in the creek. But
6
there's no
miles,
creek
yeah.
running through there. You just wonder how far them ditches, how far that material goes. I bet it goes miles. I bet
Yeah.
when they run their sinks, it goes 2 miles before it finds a ditch.
But,
They
but,
sit on
fertilizing
1
the
25
crops.
west.
but Nine
I don't know what it's
Star
fertilizing.
recommended that we start with the
What are they putting down?
Maxwell area first and then use the, economic development that occurs
Clean
there,
ages.
monies then to eventually do Charlottesville, rather than doing the Charlottesville first and come back to Maxwell. Because the economic development that would result in Charlottesville is probably not gonna be nearly as much as the one in Maxwell. And if you get the Maxwell thing going, it'll speed up getting Charlottesville done, was their thinking, right? Is that
Correct.
Kinda what?
At this point. Upon further study.
Then we have the mental health funding coming up. Do we want to, the question is, do we wanna continue all of it, some of it? How would we fund it? Is in the 25 area.
And
And-
Jim, on that, I really think we need to start setting forth our kind of like we did today with capital. I think we need to set forth with the hospital, how much would really be needed over the next 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, this is a very big topic in Indianapolis, Marion County. And it was a hot topic, yeah, I don't know if you watched the news, it was a hot topic last night even, about how they're going to fund the mental health going forward. And I think what we want to have in our toolbox, so to speak, is if we chose to stay at this level or a half reduction level, what are the 2 possible liability numbers we're looking at each year for the next 5 years? Because, we're in 25. We're running out of money in 26. At the end of 26. That theater's coming quick,
Yep, okay.
okay?
I
Just
wanted to get it on our focus.
Yeah,
Our
just
focus,
not a minutia. Let's not go into weed warfare. Let's go into,
I dread that conversation because I don't have confidence that the amount of money we're spending is helping as many people as we think we're helping.
Well,
And I hope
we'll-
the sheriff has a big play in our mental health conversation, because right now, that's the only thing I have confidence in that we're actually can quantify. We're making strides through our sheriff's department. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't mean to sound negative, but there's so many hundreds of thousands tied up into that, and I don't I don't have a lot of confidence.
So that's why I can't, what I did suggest is level of service. Do you keep the same level of service, or is there a reduced level of service?
Yeah, my concern is I don't wanna get spread out doing too many things. I think we need to find the thing that's working the best and maybe put everything into that one thing.
So
Because
we probably need to have reports coming in to us with data, and we can make decisions then
Because
based
I
on
don't
that
think we're
throughout the
a
year.
large enough county to support several.
You understand my concern?
So are you gonna get an update from Amanda in the first
Yeah.
quarter of
It's so
'25?
confusing to me when they try to
Yeah.
tell
That would
us.
be good.
Yeah, we'll be getting that, and
Well, it's helping.
of course the
Yeah.
sheriff reports to us.
You should be able to
Yes.
see it.
We'll put that all together.
I'm kinda like Ken, I
Must
think we
be you.
all feel like the sheriff's program is definitely
Mhm.
a worthwhile one.
Yep. And the last thing I have is the senior services funding. Just don't forget that that's something that we have taken on for '25, but we've kind of got it in a holding pattern. Greenfield finally did, according to Dan Riley here, vote to support it in '25 to the tune of $150,000, but they are using ARP money for that. So that's not sustainable from Greenfield. So-
Is that what we asked?
Yes.
That's-
Yes.
That's why we got
Yeah,
all our.
the idea
stuff
was
by
that there's
inauguration.
about
There must be
$600,000 per
coming.
year needed in
Elon Musk.
'25. We think that we will continue to get about $300,000 in state, federal granting. And so we were gonna pick up half of the remaining 300, and Greenfield would pick up half of the remaining 300. So kinda, I think in all of our minds, we're spending 150,000 in '25, but we really don't, we now know Greenfield will come in for 150,000, but the 300,000, we really don't know until we get it, cause there's no definite commitment to that. So that's kind of a variable that's up in the air, that we'll learn as we go in '25, how that turns out.
That's more important.
And that's another service, you know, how effective is it, how many people use it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but unlike what I just said a minute ago about mental health, I've seen numbers for
And you know people.
that, and I
Oh,
know
yeah.
people.
Right.
And for me, prioritize, that means a lot more, I think. And it's something that we do, that we can do, than the unknown part of the other. So, you know what I mean? I'm positive on that, I'm not, not as positive on the other.
Right. Yep.
So I think we gotta make that work.
Yep. And the last thing I had on the list was at least one new chair in here.
I'm gonna work on that.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
One new, the one
Some-
I'm in, the one I'm in.
Keely's not here today, but her chair is a fake chair.
There's a couple up here, I think, they keep just
Well,
going like
they
this
get
during the
moved around.
meeting.
Maybe we need to replace.
Yeah, cause other people come in and then they move the bad chair around.
I know.
Last man
And the
here.
last person
I'm
in
guilty.
gets the bad chair.
I had to buy a new chair for my office because about every year or two, I ruin it. I'm
We did have the
a
original
fat, happy
chair,
man.
It wasn't a very good chair. They can't find one that matches all of these, so unless you wanna buy all new chairs, you're gonna have one that doesn't match.
Well, you could, the one that matched, you put as the chair's, the president's chair.
That's Mary's chair, Mary's chair.
Yeah, we get a,
Trying
we
to
get a real
answer
nice
somebody's
big one
question,
though.
Like a
Tell 'em
king
no.
chair.
Okay,
And we
back-
maybe could afford to have a couple of extras when we have the commissioners in, or
It's the
so
pumps.
maybe.
Back on topic.
They go back, they go back.
Anything
fast.
else, Greg?
Well,
Yeah, that
didn't
one
we
there
have
won't stay
down
out.
the capital, other capital?
Oh, yes, yes,
In
yes, yes,
about 10
yeah,
minutes.
okay.
Okay, so because what I said was by April 1, we're hoping to have from the commissioners.
Pardon me, I was.
No problem. You're fine.
Could you start over?
Sure. By April 1, we're hoping to have the intent to bond, or if we need to do a GO bond in 25 for 26 and 27. And we're hoping to have the non-RDC capital needs from the commissioners by April 1, so that we don't wait till the end of the process and we're trying to close something very, very late, okay? Because we want to strategically, after the election, the bond market and everything will get really kind of strange and things like that. And so we want to stay on that timeline. So if we can get, you usually put together a list of here's the items we would like council to fund if they have the funds, and then council decides how to fund it, okay? And so we're asking for that by April 1. With the assumption that would, I think the assumption, Janine, is at this time, we would again get whether you want to include the 26th and 27th fairground items. Because remember, they put together their 3-year plan.
Right.
So you've got to decide if that's something you're gonna stay on course on. Right? Because those might be $1 million each year. if I
From the
remember.
fairgrounds?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
They have some hefty needs and they're warranted.
yeah. So,
Absolutely.
we'd like the commitment of that by April 1.
And
Okay.
when you say we are probably looking at another bond in 2025 sometime.
At the end.
GO, you mean?
GO bond.
At
Yes.
the end of 2025.
And then back to Brad, it's my understanding Brad has asked the commissioners and got, someone that's going to do either BOT or CMC or whatever to design the building. So we'll be doing that bond anticipation. I'm probably gonna have, get a resolution for the reimbursement so that the architect fees can be taken out of there. And keep in mind, then we'll do, the plan is, if the numbers stay pat, we would do a bond anticipation note, pay that off within 5 years, not do a long-term bond, and that is coming from the jail lit.
Right.
Okay, and so I asked Brad, and I think we have some time, we don't wanna do it we're not gonna do it any too soon, so it's probably mid-year that we would be doing that bond anticipation note.
So when would you like to start the building and completion?
That's what I was talking to him about, and I think it's maybe summer.
Yeah, I think so. I know that the commissioners, having the attorney, Scott, work up, a plan for bidding out the construction management fees. And then once we get that, then I think we can.
Ready to roll.
A little bit. So we're a few months out before, but my architecture, they're doing their part now, so that way when we're ready to go, we're ready to go.
Right, because you got summer to build it, basically, or get the groundwork done and stuff.
And then that'll fold nicely into our discussion on the 26 budget, and if we would do any reallocation of lit in total. I'm not expecting that because we want to be able to fund this and get this paid down quick. And, but that will fold nicely in to our jail lit and overall lit
And there
discussion.
is a pretty good balance in that fund, right?
Yeah, yeah, and we'll use some of that if we, are safe to use it. So,
The auditor wants us to sign the annual certification, non-disclosure forms. I'm sorry, Greg, were you done?
Is there also?
Yes, sir.
Is there also a? Yes.
You should have got a copy of each.
So there's 2 signatures here. This first one is the conflict of interest?
I don't know which one you're looking at.
Well, The one I've signed in the past had a narrative, you had to put on it what services you provide.
There's a state form that's uploaded to Gateway, this is just a county,
Okay, so I need to find the state form.
if you wanna do that one also.
Well, I have to do that every year,
Find the
cause,
state form and bring it to the next council meeting.
okay, and you say it's in,
Yeah.
where can I get it? Can you email it to me?
Or they can bring it next Wednesday.
Okay, all right, yeah, cause I have to put that, I have services that everybody in the world uses.
Right.
And, I'm disclosing that. I'm a trash man.
He's the trash man.
Mary,
He's the older.
were you gonna share your,
Or rain or snow or sleet or night, you come pick your bacon. We did, we got our routes done
On Monday?
on Monday. The stupid landfills didn't open up, I couldn't dump, but we got all our routes done.
That's impressive. Even the mail didn't come Monday.
No, the other companies didn't run either.
That's impressive.
anything else? Mary, did you want anything?
I don't think so. Good. Like I said, Bernie, I think
So
he's not on our agenda for next week, he'll be next
No.
month, but I talked to him last week and he said this was coming, so we just need to kind of think about where that's.
Will he put some numbers together?
Yes, I told him I needed something in writing to make it a
Oh,
formal
you may.
Okay,
request.
great, great.
Did we vote on the minutes yet?
No,
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the December 2024 meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
aye,
Opposed?
that's excellent.
I thank Tammy for that. If you were the auditor or the president, you got one.
Apparently I didn't rank, so.
No, no, we don't rank very high, man.
I said bring trees.
I was given an assignment.
Deb
Had they
jokingly
said bring
asked
one
her.
for everyone, I would have brought one for everyone.
And
No, you're
Deb
good.
jokingly asked for one as the auditor, and I said, well, what about the president?
Well, and don't we wanna, welcome Keely back, but
Yes.
she's not
here.
And
Poor
Keely
thing,
will,
she's suffering right
she'll
now.
be missing this meeting and next because her plans, she didn't anticipate being back on the council. So she won't,
probably didn't
She went out of
think
town?
we'd do it this quickly.
so she'll be back in February.
Okay.
Janice was right on it.
So,
That's good.
we're, we're adjourned, I think, right?
Okay.
Did you need auditor business?
I do not have any, we need to
And
make a motion to fund solid waste.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, I make a motion to fund Solid Waste Management District Fund 4021 from County General for 2025 in the amount of $158,206.
Second. I'm the,
Ken?
What are we doing?
You're the, well, our president walked away.
and I'm the vice president.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. Can you do it with our?
We have a motion
What's the motion?
to fund solid
Fund
waste.
solid waste. We have to do that every
We have to do it every year.
You have to do it every year.
We didn't used to.
We have a motion and a second to fund the solid waste for $158,206. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same. Motion
Mary, you
carries.
wanna say aye?
Thank you.
Mary, say aye.
She's busy.
She said
Now can we be adjourned?
Yeah, motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn,
We don't need one.
so moved.
We don't need one of this one.
All in favor say aye.
This is a meeting of the council, not
Let's come
a
to an end.
council meeting.
That's true.
Good. Take it home with you.
The meeting of the council now.
Good.
I don't remember, Scott, when you came on the board. I don't remember.
You guys didn't give me.
Getting
Oh, they didn't, well, oh, yeah, I didn't give any gifts. I was like,
Hey, if I'm given an assignment, I do it.
She does, and I said, the auditor.
I hope we didn't scare you off this first meeting.
No, I'll be back next Wednesday, how's that?
We always
you'll
wait
get
to
an
see what
agenda.
happens.